Hello, and welcome to Off the Fence, a podcast where we deconstruct difficult decision making so that we can try to figure out what keeps us stuck and, more importantly, know what to do to get us unstuck. I'm your host, Karen Covey. I am a former divorce lawyer, mediator, and arbitrator turned coach, author, and entrepreneur. With me today, I am so excited to have Despina Mavridou. Despina is an author, mediator, and lawyer based in Greece. The name of her book is Mom, Dad, Can You Hear Me?, which explores the topic of divorce through the perspective of a child. The book is available in English on Amazon and in Greek by 24 Grammata Editorial and in Portuguese by Gaudi Editorial. Despina has also created a diary that goes with the book, which children can use to express their thoughts and emotions during the challenging time of their parents' divorce. Despina, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show.
Thank you, Karen. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm excited because you are officially making this show international. You're my first great guest. I am thrilled beyond words. I think this is awesome.
I'm happy for that.
But it also goes to show that the topic of divorce and all the decisions that go along with it, really, it's global. This is not just something that happens in the United States to Americans or to North Americans. It's about, a phenomenon that's happening all over the world. And it's something it's an important topic to talk about. And what I want to focus on with you is your book, your story. Your book is written for children from the perspective of a child. And I just wondered if you could share with the audience what motivated you to write this book.
Yes, first of all, the book started as a letter to my parents because I wanted to write to them when I was around 40 years old, not young, when I started, because it took me years to start understanding certain things that happened and came with me with the divorce. So at around 40 years old, I decided to write a letter to them after the discussion I had with my therapist. So I wrote what I wanted for them, from them to do for me as a child, what I needed as a child during the divorce. And I wrote down certain things like, I don't want you to put me in the middle of the fight. I don't want to know who pays more for me, more money for me. I don't want you to accuse each other in front of me or to try to minimize the gifts that I get from the other parent. Or I don't want you to tell me things about the third person in the relationship, because my dad had a relationship with another woman. And I thought at that time that she was the problem. It took me years to realize that this was not the main issue. And anyway, I wrote this letter with certain things that I wanted to tell them, and I never had the courage to do it. And when I did this and I wrote everything down, I realized that this could become something bigger, because I know that kids are quite voiceless during the divorce. Of course, the judge and the system is trying to hear them, is trying to protect them. The parents try to do everything for their kids. But because I went through this, I know deep in my heart that it's really difficult for the kids to express themselves and to explain how difficult their position is.
Yeah, let's take you back. I mean, what you're saying is just, I don't think there is a more important message for parents to hear. And to your point, most parents, they love their children. They're not trying to hurt their children. But what I hear you saying is that they don't really understand what their children is going through and that their children can't express it. So if you can take us back a little bit to when you were going through your parents' divorce, which is what started this whole thing.
When my parents, for example, took the divorce, it was it was an amicable divorce on documents. we didn't go to the court. They issued the divorce, and everything went very smoothly.
Mhm.
But the reality behind that was completely different. Because, for example, when I had to go and visit my dad, my mom was telling me to ask him for money, to say certain things to him. And they were telling me that your dad abandoned you for another woman. And then when I was hearing these things and I was transferring the messages, of course, my dad was answering back. So I was the mediator, and actually I was the adult in the room, like I like to say, because there was a lot of anger and frustration from both sides, and they were feeling hurt, both of them. The problem was that they were trying to use me as a weapon.
Yeah. And how old were you when this was happening?
It started when I was 12, and it went on until 18.
Oh my.
And the only way that I found to stop this thing and not to be in the middle, at some point I just decided that I don't want to see my dad anymore.
And how old were you when you made that decision?
I was 16, more or less, if I
Okay.
remember correctly.
And what were you thinking? What prompted you to make that decision? What was your thought process like at that time?
Well, what I was telling to the others was that my dad is the bad guy, as you telling me, and I don't want to see him anymore because he doesn't care about us, he doesn't pay money for us, and all these things. But the reality behind this, and this is why I'm saying that kids don't really express themselves. What I was really thinking was that I can't do this thing anymore. I can't be in the middle anymore. I was trying to please both of them because this is what the kids are trying to do. They want to be accepted, and it's a survival mode for the kids.
Mhm.
So I was trying to please both of them. And when I was with my mom, I was trying to say the things that my mom wanted to hear. When I was my dad, I was trying to say the things that he wanted to hear. And I want to be the good girl for both of them. I didn't want to disappoint them, to hurt them more, to make them more angry. So this was really frustrated for me.
At the time, I mean, I know this might be an impossible question to answer, but do you think there was anything that they could have done that would have made you feel differently at that time?
Well, now I believe that if they had elaborate their feelings, if they went to, for example, to a divorce coach or to a therapist, I think that they would be able to help me indirectly.
So I take it they didn't do that. And
No.
so they were using you. And I can't believe that they were trying to hurt you as their child. They were just getting back at
No,
each other, right?
exactly. Yes, they didn't want to hurt me. I know that. I know that, and they had told me also, both of them, and my mom asked me sorry many times for what she did at that time. But the point is that this create a lot of frustration in me, and also I had many emotions that I couldn't express for many, many years. And the fact that I lost contact with my dad and also with his family is something that it hurt me now. But
Yeah.
now I can express it also because at that time I couldn't say that.
Well, and it sounds like you didn't have the language for it. I mean, not that at 16 years old you couldn't talk. I mean, of course you could, but the idea, I think what you're trying to say, and you tell me if I'm wrong, is that you didn't have the emotional depth at 16 years old to know, oh, this is what I'm feeling, this is what the experience is, this is what I want them to, like, you just couldn't say all of that at the
No,
time.
I couldn't, exactly. I couldn't understand because I was taking for granted that my dad is the bad guy because he had a relationship. He abandoned my mom and his family, including me. So this made me feel bad. And I was feeling that I have to be the strong person because my mom wasn't feeling very well. And she was emotionally, she was really in a very bad place. So I was feeling that I have to protect her and I have to choose side. And all these decisions were made actually unconsciously because I didn't have the maturity to understand and to decide as an adult certain things. I
You
was
know,
trying to survive actually.
and what I really hope that people hear you saying is you were 16 at this time. It's not like you were 6 or 6 months, right?
No,
So we all like, especially in today's world, the teenagers all want to believe, and I wanted to believe when I was a teenager, I understand things, I know how the world works, and I thought I was so grown up. And what I hear you saying is that really teenagers still have a lot of growing to do, and there are things that they can't express even though they might think they can.
yes, because they don't know how the world works. They understand this later.
Yeah.
I
So
oh, think that I couldn't express myself to anyone. I didn't confess to my best friend that my mom, my parents are getting a divorce.
wow. So when you maybe unconsciously made the decision that that's it, you don't want to see your dad anymore, what did you do? I mean, I take it that there was a period of time that you didn't see them, but how did that come to be? Did you just say to him or to your mom, I don't want to see him anymore? Did they make it official through the courts, or you just didn't go, or
Not through
how did
the
that?
court. No, I told my mom, and she told him that they don't want to see you. The strange thing was, though, that my mom told me that this is something wrong and you need to do the right thing and go and see your dad, which makes me really confused because I was thinking that I was doing the right thing.
Oh my. So
Yeah.
so it sounds like what you're saying is that you thought you were doing the right thing, and your mother had been telling you how bad your dad was, but the minute you said, okay, he's bad, I don't want to see him, she said, no, you have to do the right thing and see him.
Mm, mm, mm.
I mean, you can see, like, people don't realize how what they say of how children take it.
Yeah. And I was also the older daughter, so I had also the burden of all the decisions. And my sister was not hiding, but she was younger, so they didn't expect things from her, but they were expecting for me to be mature, to decide, to say certain things, to do the mediator, to try to help my mom. So the burden was really huge on my shoulders.
So it sounds like you broke with your dad at about 16. How long did it take before you saw him again and started to repair that relationship?
Well, at 18 years old, I saw him for a little bit because he came to my graduation. And this was very awkward moment for me because they were both in the same place and I was afraid that they will start fighting. And I just wanted to finish, with the graduation day that, many people have many good memories and they are getting pictures with their friends and everything. It was one of the worst days in my life at that time. And of course, after that, it took me 3, 4 years to see him again. And actually, it's the last 5 years that I have reestablished the relationship in a more mature way.
So the last
So
five
I'm
years.
discussing. I mean, I'm calling him. I ask him how he is, and he calls me back, and he feels free to talk to me and to call me. But still, what I did is that I said to my mom, "Look, that I'm having a relationship with my dad, but don't ever ask me how he is, what he's doing, and what he asks me. I will not transfer anything to you."
You know, that what you're saying, I've heard from other adult children whose parents divorced, or parents with children who are now adults, who say, look, once they get the language and the maturity and the knowledge to know that there's something called a boundary, and you don't have to tell them everything, and they get that concept. It really works to say to your parents, no, I'm not going to talk to you about that. It's not your business. But as a child, you don't, to do that would be really scary.
Yes, I couldn't do that. I was feeling that I am the bad girl. I am not taking care of my mom if I do that.
Wow.
Like I'm betraying her. I'm doing something bad to her.
Wow. So you went through this divorce, which, the other thing that I find interesting about your story is that your parents didn't have the ugly divorce where they were fighting each other in court. Like on paper, everything looked amicable.
Yeah.
So what I'm gathering from this is that it's more than just how it looks like on paper that makes a difference.
Exactly. Yes.
And so,
and the lawyers knew
divorce.
that also. The strange thing is that, for example, my mom's lawyer didn't really know what she was asking me to do. She still, even today, she tells me that your mom was trying to do everything for you. She came to my office and she said that I want for the kids, the best for the kids. She didn't know, for example, that my mom was asking me to say to my dad that you need to sign for the house to come in my name, for example.
Yeah. So the message that I hear you saying, and that I really hope that anyone who's getting divorced with children hears, is don't put your kids in the middle. And so your parents probably didn't mean to, but they did. You break with your dad. And then, I'm going to bring you back to the point now where you're writing this letter. What was the point of the letter that you were writing to your parents? What were you trying to accomplish?
To express myself, to say the divorce from my point of view, because I knew my dad's story. I knew my mom's story, but never, nobody asked my story, my divorce story as a
Wow.
kid, because also for the kid, there is a story there.
Yeah, of course there is, because your parents' divorce affects your life in a major way.
Yes.
So
But
when you
everybody
shared the,
hears the parties,
go ahead.
the parents, everybody hears the stories of the parents. Nobody asks the story of the kid.
Yeah, I I agree, and that's, so you write this letter. Did you ever give it to them?
No, I
And
just
so,
published the book, and I didn't even have the courage to tell them that I published the book.
oh no, do they know that now, or?
Yes, they know now.
Oh
My
my,
mom didn't like it.
not surprising. But so you write this book, and what do you hope to accomplish with the book?
Well, I really hope to help parents understand the point of view of the kids, to understand their feelings, to understand how bad kids feel when they are in the middle, and all the emotional roller coaster. I really want the parents to get in their kids' shoes and see the divorce from the kids' eyes.
Yeah. It,
And sorry.
no, go ahead.
And for the children, I want them to understand that they have the possibility to express themselves and that they have the right to ask from their parents not to be in the middle. And
Yeah.
not to know about, they are not obliged to know who pays more for them.
Yeah. So,
And they're not obliged to hear the accusations also. Because, sorry, I will say this one and I will, okay. When you are a husband and wife, you get the divorce and then you put an X in front of the word and you know that you finish with this person. but a kid can never finish with a parent. So imagine, for example, your parents that are fighting and they are telling you that your dad is blah, 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 blah. But it's still your dad. You can never get rid of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
How you will survive if the most important people in your life, if you feel that the most important persons in your life, which are your parents, they are not so good, for example, people, and you have in your head all these accusations.
Right. Right. That's a, I don't think that parents ever intend to hurt their children in this way, but I think it's so important that they hear your message, because it's so easy when you're going through a divorce to get caught up in your own emotions, your own stuff, and you don't think maybe that you're putting your kids in the middle. But so many times I've had parents just not realize that you cannot give a check to the child to say, give this to your mom or give this to your dad. It's to pay for your X, whatever X is, right? Or tell your mother that this, or tell your father that a child is not the postal service, right?
Mm.
It's not that. And when you put the child in that position, the child suffers.
Yes, exactly.
Now, I know that from our discussions that you are a strong believer that children during a divorce also have to make decisions. Everybody thinks about, well, the parents have to decide, the money and the schedules and all the things, but even kids have to make decisions. What kinds of decisions do you think that children have to make while they're going through a divorce? Or
Well,
can they?
for me, also the fact that they are trying to please their parents is a decision for them. And also the most simple thing, for example, the kid goes out with dad, and after 2-3 hours goes home, and mom asks him, how was your day with dad? Even there is an unconscious decision for the kid, because if, for example, he says that I had a great time, maybe he feels guilty. If he says that, yes, it was okay, but I get bored, he feels guilty for that. Because probably he said to his dad that I had a great time with you. So these are all unconscious decisions that kids constantly take during the divorce. They don't even realize it. They just try to please both their parents, and they are feeling really hurt because they have them both in their heart, but they cannot please them both.
Well, let's take you out of the child's perspective for a second, and let's say you're the parent and your child just came from the other parent's house. How do you think, what would you say to a parent who says, look, I am not trying to question the child about what they did with dad or if they had a good time, but I'm interested in their life. I'm just wondering what they did. It's not like they're trying to interrogate the child and get information about the other parent. What would you say to that parent? How do they find that balance?
Well, it needed to build some trust with the kid so as to be able to express himself with freedom. Because, for example, the kid needs to feel free to say also the good things and
Mm-hmm.
maybe also the bad things, but you have not to react to both of these situations. To try
Okay.
to feel, for example, if the kid comes from school and says something that you don't like, probably you will call the teacher after. But in front of the kid, you will not react in the same way. You will try to feel calm, to be calm, and to say that it's okay. I think it's the same thing when the kid comes from the other parent. You need to be neutral. And I think that it's nice also to show to the kid that when he is out with his dad, you also had a good time. You had plans, you went out, you did things for you, you took care of yourself. So the kids can see that he can take care of himself as well and have a good time with his other parent.
That's beautiful information. I mean, it goes back to, that children learn not just by what you say, but by what you do. And so if they see And it sounds, if they see that you're okay, they're going to be better.
Yes, and they will feel free to express themselves also. And if they like something, they will share it. If they don't like something, they will also share it.
What do you think? I know you've written a diary to go with your book. So that, and I'm assuming that, that's for the children to write down how they feel. Um, can you say more about that and why, how important it is? Because it seems like some children, no matter how much you try to get through to the parents don't get it. They don't understand. And so is the reason that you wrote the diary, like at least that gives the child some place to express themselves?
Exactly. This is the reason that I created, because the writing helped me also to express my feelings and my thoughts that I couldn't share with anyone. Because how a kid can say, for example, that he still loves his dad if he hears all day his mom accusing the dad.
Yeah.
And it's not only mom, dad, it's also the grandparents and all the relatives that
Oh,
come with.
that's a good
Because
point. Can you say
you
more about that?
you know what I realized, that none of my relatives told me, you need to take care of yourself, Desma. You need to take care of your feelings. None of them told me that. Everybody was telling me that you need to take care of your mom. She doesn't feel very well right now.
Oh my. So, and how old were you when they were telling you this?
Well, I started when I was 12 and it
So
went on and on.
at 12 years old, from 12 years old on, you were supposed to be the adult taking care of
Yes,
your mother.
yes, yes.
You
Because
know,
also the grandparents are feeling really hurt. They are living the divorce together with the parents. I, at least in Greece is like that. I don't.
yeah,
Our culture is.
that what you say is a really, really good point. And it's something that I think a lot of divorcing parents might not think about, but it's like to also, not that they can control what their relatives or parents or whatever say to the children, but to at least make a conscious effort to protect the child from those kinds, like if the grandparents think the father or the mother, whoever is a bad person, they can have their opinion, just don't tell it to the kid.
Don't share it. Yes,
Yeah. And don't make it the child's responsibility to take care of the parent who can't handle their own emotions.
exactly.
I mean, that is really sad. But the message that you've shared with us today is so, it like hits right in my heart. Because it's a message that I think parents need to hear. And it's one, like, you went through all of this at 12 to 18, when you were a teenager, essentially, but yet you're still feeling the effects decades later as an adult. So this is something that parents need to hear because the effects are so long lasting.
Exactly.
And if you had one message to give to people, parents who are divorcing, what would that message be?
To ask for help, not from lawyers. To ask for help from therapists, from divorce coaches, from mentors, from people that can help them with their emotions. Because if you don't handle the emotion and the trauma that divorce brings sometimes, you will not be able to help your kids.
And
The way
what
that you will handle that the parent will handle the emotion will 100% help the kid to overcome the divorce as well.
that's so important. It's a beautiful message. And if there are, I don't know that there are younger people, teenagers listening to this podcast, but if you had a message for them and their parents are getting divorced, what would you say to them? What can they do?
Mm. Well, this is hard because it's really in my heart. The teenagers that are going through something like that, they are really in my heart. I would say that they have the right to ask from their parents the things that they want, that they have the right not to hear certain things, not to be in certain discussions, not to know about what happened if they don't want to know, about the accusations and everything, about money, and to try to express themselves as much as they can and to be authentic with themselves,
Yeah, that's
not to
that.
hide the emotions. Because, for example, for me, for years, I was trying to be strong and I hidden my emotions and I couldn't express them. I couldn't cry, for example, because I wanted to be strong for my mom.
Oh my, that's Despina, you have a beautiful message. I hope everyone listening goes out and buys your book, gets, if they have children, get them the diary, give the children a way to express themselves. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing your story. Can you tell people where they can find you and where they can get the book?
Yes. They can find the book is available on all Amazon stores in English, and in Portuguese is from Gaudí Editorial. The diary also is on Amazon. It's only in English, and they can find me on Facebook and Instagram. It's under my name, Despina Mavridou, author, and they will find me. And I will be happy to hear also the feedback, or if they want to ask me anything about the book or my story, I will be happy to answer.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your generosity and courage in sharing the story, because
It was
even
hard.
though you're an adult now, your mom still didn't want to hear this, didn't want to know about the book. So
Yeah.
it still took a lot of courage to step up and say, no, I have a voice.
Yes, it's true. It was hard for me. It took me time. And when I published, I still felt guilty. But then I said, okay, this is my story, because the story is based on real facts, on what happened in my case. Of course, the end of the story is different, but the facts are from my personal story. And in the end, I said, yes, this is my story, and I have the right to publish it.
That's beautiful. And I think the world is going to be a better place since you did. So thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
again. And for all of you listening or watching, if you like the episode, give it a thumbs up, like, subscribe, go to Amazon and buy Despina's book. And I look forward to talking with you again next time.